Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are back again with more Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. Let's talk about Wizard, the class that specializes in letting you cast as many different spells as you like. We've already reviewed these mechanics in my 25 base class mechanics video, which is linked in the description below. Overall, I rank this class an A+. Magic is fantastic in this game, and Wizards are one of the best classes for making full use of it. The first archetype is Arcane Bomber. You lose the ability to cast cantrips, which hurts for the first few levels, but long term doesn't really matter. You also lose Arcane Bond, which is somewhat impactful. On top of this, you lose the ability to choose a specialist school, which hurts the amount of spell slots you have to cast spells. Finally, you also have to choose 4 opposition schools, which hurts your flexibility to choose spells from different schools. In exchange for all of this, you get Arcane Bombs, which function just like Alchemist Bombs, except you choose an element at first level, and this is the elemental damage your bombs will always do. In addition, you can increase your bomb's hit chance and damage by sacrificing a spell. I give this class a C. If you really want to play a full spellcaster who can throw bombs, then this obviously serves a purpose. Otherwise, you are sacrificing crucial mechanics for mediocre returns. It makes sense for alchemists because they only get 6 levels in spells. As a wizard, you are better off putting your full focus into spellcasting. Next up, we have Cruoromancer, the Dampier specific class. You lose 2 rankings of wizard bonus feats, which is somewhat impactful, but keep in mind wizard is not really a feat-starved class. You also lose Arcane Bomb, which again is somewhat impactful. Finally, you lose the ability to select your own specialist school and instead have to choose Necromancy. Necromancy is pretty awesome, especially if you combine this class with Lich, as you are obviously meant to, so this choice isn't that bad. In exchange for this, you get 3 infusions, which can be used to boost your Necromancy spells in exchange for a small amount of health. Focused Infusion lets you raise the DC of a Necromancy spell by 1, and Sickening Infusion lets you sicken all enemies damaged by your spell. At level 5, Commanding Infusion will give all your summoned skeletons a +4 enhancement bonus to strength and constitution. At level 20, you are able to use these infusions without sacrificing any health. The problem with them is they do not scale, and you have to manually activate them every time you want to use one. The last part is not as big a deal if you play strictly in turn-based, but for those of us who play the majority of the game in real time with pause, having to manually stop and activate the infusion for each use is a death knell. It's also very strange that you keep intelligence as the casting attribute when you are obviously meant to combine this with Lich, which strongly benefits from a high charisma stat. Why does Sorcerer get an intelligence class, but Wizard doesn't get a charisma class? I rank this class a B. It's still a full caster, but they are just much better options. Next on the list is Elemental Specialist. You lose the ability to choose your own specialist school and instead must choose Evocation. Evocation is amazing, so this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You also have to choose 1 additional opposition school on top of the 2 you already have to choose for taking Evocation. All of the schools are great, so even if there are a couple you don't want to cast spells for, you will still have plenty of fantastic options. In exchange for this, you get Focused Element, which lets you change any spell element to the element that you actually want. This is a big deal, because you can keep the mechanics for a great spell while switching it to an element that fits your build. For example, if you are a blaster and specialize in fire, then usually Hellfire Ray would be your top level choice. With this class, you could instead choose to take Polar Ray, which does significantly more damage, and just convert its element to fire. Or do the same thing with Chain Electricity. At level 15, half of the damage you do with these spells is untyped, which means enemies won't be able to resist it. Bananas! On top of the obvious mechanical benefits, this class really opens up your thematic options. Fire Mage, Ice Wizard, Acid Archmage. This class makes a lot of options more viable. I rank this class an S+. It's an absolutely fantastic option. Next we have Exploiter Wizard. You lose Arcane Bond, which again is slightly impactful. You also lose the ability to choose a specialist school, which again impacts how many spell slots you receive. In exchange for this, you get an Arcane Reservoir and can use exploits just like an Arcanist. The Arcanist class doesn't appeal to me, but I am a big fan of this combo. I rank this class an S. Exploits allow wizards to get even more use out of their already fantastic spellbook. Next up we have Scroll Savant. You lose 3 rankings of wizard bonus feats, which is definitely impactful, even on a class that is not feat starved. In exchange, you get to add half your class level on all used magic device checks, and you automatically succeed on rolls of 10 or less to use a scroll. Neither of these are really necessary, but they are nice to have. Starting at level 5, the DC for a spell you cast from a scroll uses your intelligence modifier instead of the minimum modifier needed to cast it. This makes it much more viable to use save or bust spells with scrolls, so it's definitely nice to have. Finally, at level 10, you can use your own caster level when casting a spell from a scroll instead of the item's caster level. Again, this makes it significantly more viable to use scrolls. I rank this class an A+ because I see it as a different flavor of wizard and not really an upgrade from the base class. Yes, it makes using scrolls in combat much more viable, but honestly, that playstyle is more cumbersome than it's worth. You have to buy or craft the scrolls that you need, and you cannot use metamagic feats or wands with them. If you are willing to put in the effort, this class can be really interesting, but I just don't think the effort is actually worth it. Next on the list is Spellmaster. You lose 2 rankings of wizard bonus feats, which again is impactful. You also lose the choice option for Arcane Bond and instead must bond with an object. That's not a bad choice at all, so this isn't very impactful. Finally, you lose the ability to choose your own specialist school and instead must take Universalist. Universalist does not get any additional spell slots, but you do not have to select an opposition school. I personally prefer to specialize, but this is a legit option and not necessarily a downgrade. This school also gives you a pool of points that can be used to apply metamagic feats onto your spells. The pool is very small, so this doesn't radically change your playstyle, but it's still nice to have. In exchange for all of this, you get Focus Spell, which allows you to increase the caster level of a spell by 4, a limited number of times per day. This can be useful in several ways, including making blasts like Scorching Ray and Hellfire Ray do more damage. Very nice. Starting at level 5, you get up to 5 additional uses of Item Bond, which gives you back 1 spell slot. So basically, you are trading 2 bonus feats and a specialist school for 5 extra spell slots per day. That's honestly not a terrible trade. I give this class an A+. It's too narrow to be better than Wizard, but it's a legitimate playstyle in its own right. Quick note before we review Thassilonian Specialist. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate you subscribing and hitting the like button. This information tells me which content the community is enjoying and helps my videos spread to more people. I really appreciate all of the support. Alright, finally let's go over Thassilonian Specialist. You lose the ability to cast cantrips, which again is only impactful in the early game. You also lose the ability to pick a specialist school and instead must pick a customized Thassilonian Specialist school. Each school has 2 assigned opposing schools that you will automatically take. You can never slot spells from the 2 opposing schools, which is potentially a major sacrifice. You do get 2 extra slots at each spell level for your specialist spells instead of just 1. However, they have to be the same spell. Whether or not this all works for you depends on how you feel about the opposition schools that are automatically assigned. Personally, I find this class a little too constraining, so I rank it an A. If you are comfortable drilling down into just 1 school, this class is perfect, but I think in doing that you'll create an inferior mage. That wraps up my rankings for Wizard and all of its archetypes. In summary, I rank Wizard A+, Arcane Bomber C, Cruoromancer B, Elemental Specialist S+, Exploiter Wizard S, Scroll Savant A+, Spellmaster A+, and Thassilonian Specialist A. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.